Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today we are back on the Hawk T1 and we're going to have a bit of fun with it. We are going to first walk through the full startup process once again, do a taxi, takeoff, then we're going to do an air show. Hopefully everything goes well with that. I'm a little nervous with that, but we're going to see how it goes. At the very least, it should be very entertaining for you guys. And then finally, we're going to bring it in and land the aircraft this time, assuming I don't do what I did in the previous video and put this aircraft into the ground. So I hope you guys enjoy it. It's certainly going to be exciting, and I will go ahead and get this thing started. All right, so stepping right into the cockpit of this beautiful aircraft, first thing we're going to do is remove all of the exterior equipment, chocks, ladders, etc. And then we're going to walk through the checklist really quickly here, folks. If you want a slow down version, we can check out that previous video that I did. It's definitely on par here. All right, so landing gear indicator, we want to make sure that that is down. Battery switches are off. MCP, WCP, and MAS are all off. MCP and WCP have to do with the weapon system as well as the MAS switch. The ISIS sight is obviously the gun sight that normally goes up here, or actually I should say targeting sight, again part of the weapon system. Stick top safe, that is this little red switch right here. You can see it pops up. That's unsafe. This is safe. All right, and oxygen selector is going to be found on the right hip panel here. Put that switch forward. Verify we have oxygen on board. We have about just over a full tank of we have a full tank of oxygen. Actually, let's call it what it is. For the rear cockpit, I recommend binding a camera to it. You're going to switch back to it very easily. And let's go back to the same situation here. We're going to go engine start switch goes to the on position. Tailplane standby trim, that's this guy right here. You want to make sure that cover is down. Oops, anti-skid switch, that's going to be this one here. Full forward for the on position. Standby UHF switch, that's this one right here. Should be in the upright and centered position. Landing gear selector, you're going to push that down. It's going to push the landing gear command to the rear seat. We want to push that back in and verify that the front seat has control. Flap selector should be in the pupil position. That's the center position here. And again, WMP, that's the weapon system. Stick top, once again, safe. Make sure that's down. And lightning switches are up here on the right knee panel. Those are obviously off as well. And again, same thing with the oxygen selector. Make sure that's in the forward position and move back forward. Strapping in checklist. Rudder pedals. We want to make sure the rudder pedal lock switch is off. Make sure you have rudder command. We do indeed. Battery switches. We're going to make sure those come on. That's battery 1, battery 2. Clear the master caution here. Left one works and silences it well. Tick that, tick that. Navigation lights are on, letting people know around us that the aircraft is occupied. CCS amplifier switch, that's this red switch. You want to make sure it's in the full right position. That is the norm position. Parking brake, you're going to find that. It's going to be a little tricky from here. There we go. You can sort of see the edge of it sticking out right there past the seat. Let me see. There we go. There's our parking brake. Down is off. Extend or pulled is extended and locked. Chocks are removed, flags and covers are removed, steps are removed, and the pilots, if we go back to the external view, you can see have sat in the cockpit. We are ready to do this. So now let's go into the initial checks. Left console, LP lock. This is part of the fuel management system. We're going to make sure that lever is down. If you ever run through everything else and the engine won't start, chances are you forgot that, guys, so make sure you come back and check it. All right, engine start switch remains in the off position now. Fuel pump switch, this guy right here, comes to the on position. Pitot heat remains off. Tailplane standby trim cover is down. Ignition switch goes to the norm position. That's this switch here. Full forward is the norm. HP throttle lock is off. So that's this guy right here. In its default position, it is locked. That is unlocked. That's off. Or excuse me, off and on, I guess what you would say. So that's that is off. That is on. We want it off right now. We want it in the lock. It's basically like a throttle cutoff. Anti-skid switch, again, upright and centered, is off. Standby UHF switch, that's going to be this one here, once again, in the middle position. Brake gauges, press on your pedal brakes. Verify the gauges are accumulating pressure. All set there. Left instrument panel. Undercarriage emergency handle is not pulled. Flaps emergency handle not pulled. So tick and tick. Oops. I was hoping that was going down to the next one. Landing gear is indicating 3 green. Voltmeter is indicating 23 volts or higher. Flap selector is in the up position. Flaps indicator right here, this little gauge right there, confirming, needle pointing up indicates flaps are up. UHF radio on as required. We're just going to take this switch right here, turn it to the main position. You can set your preset as desired if you choose. And as far as all the weapon controls, obviously we're not loading weapons today, so we're just going to tick on through those. All right, center and lower panels. DGI, this guy right here, is not showing a flag. Turn and slip indicator, no flag indicating. Here's an example of a flag. There's an example of a flag for those of you who misunderstand what we're talking about there. Accelerometer, that's going to be this guy right here. This shows the G load on the aircraft. Should always be 1 in the stopped position or normal flight like this. 1 times the force of gravity, obviously, is what we're feeling as we walk around and as you're feeling in your chair right now as you're watching this. Okay, so we do push that knob to reset that back to the 1 position. Main attitude attitude indicator, this guy right here, ADI, indicating flag showing. HSI, flag is showing. Let me get rid of the flight stick so you can see that. You can see the flags on there. Or excuse me, there's the yellow flag right there. That's disregard that. I don't know why I was doing that. AHRS is going to the slave position, so that rotary goes all the way to the full right. ISIS control part of the weapon system off. ILS marker light test. We're going to flip that. Not that one. Sorry. We're going to push on the marker light there. Illuminates. Verify it's working. It is indeed. UHF power switch is supposed to go back to the off position. I don't know why. I ignore that part. That doesn't make sense to me. And as far as I can tell, there isn't any other position where it actually tells you to turn it back on. Main altimeter. Flag is showing indeed. Standby attitude indicator flag is retracted. That's there. And standby instruments all reading as normal. Standby altimeter. Let's see here. We have our main airspeed indicator all looking good, and vertical velocity indicator looking good as well. So moving on. Let's go ahead and give that item a tick. Right instrument panel. Oxygen caution light is out. Oxygen contents over half. We have a full tank of oxygen. Oxygen confirmed flow. That's this little Doppler bouncing up and down right here. As long as that thing is moving back and forth, you have oxygen flow to your mask. Fuel gauge contents, a little bit over, let's see here, 500 kilograms. So we've got about 600 kilograms there. Enough for our little flight here today. We're not going too crazy. Rotation and GTS are both showing off. Rotation is engine rotation, and GTS is, as far as I can tell, it's similar to like an APU. It aids with the engine start process. CWP panel, we want to test that. Open up the test cover there. Make sure all lights illuminate and sound. Clear that master caution once again. Okay, good there. Lighting switches as required. If you want to turn your lights on, you flip that panel light switch up, adjust your rotaries as desired. You can see the lights sort of illuminate, and you can just flip the switch on and off once you have it set the way you like. So that works out very nicely. And finally, right console, moving on down. CCS push to talk here. That's this switch right here. You want to make sure it's in the push to talk position. Okay, which we are good to go. And let's see here. VHF radio. Very high frequency. We want to make sure this goes to TRNG, that's transmit, receive, and ground. IFF, if we're going to be using it, we're going to select that switch over to standby and then to the norm position. IFF is a military radio that stands for identify friend or foe, and it does exactly what it sounds like. It transmits a friendly or foe signal. If the signal is unrecognized by an IFF radio, it will be deemed as unknown or possibly hostile. If it emanates a friendly signal that the IFF radio recognizes, it will recognize it as a friendly aircraft, so we don't shoot at it. TACAN, if you're going to use it, you can set that over to transmit and receive. Receive is only going to give you bearing to a TACAN, and transmit and receive, TX and RX, will give you bearing and distance. In our case, we're not going to be using the TACAN today, so we can just leave that off. Same thing with the ILS. If you want to use ILS, you would set your frequency here, switch it up to ILS or VOR, whichever one you're using. We're not using either one today. We're going to stay right above the airport for our flight demonstration here. All right. Cabin conditioning, we want to come down here, set this switch over to normal. You can see it's already in the auto position by default. And then the last thing that we're going to want to do is move on over to the, let's see here, I missed something here. Where did I miss it? It's not part of the engine start procedure. I have cabin air pressure. Huh. Maybe it's in engine start. Internal checks. No, we did that. Huh. Something else that we should have done. Did I miss it? I must have read right past it. But was the speed brake check. So we're going to go and flip that switch forward. We're going to step out to the cockpit view. Move our camera around just a bit here. Make sure we have controls of the outside. Oh, let's see. Let's try that again. Oh, you know what? It's after startup. Never mind. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm getting ahead of myself. Engine start switches, we want to make sure that goes into the on position here. Anti-collision lights, we want to make sure they go to red. Down for red, up for white. White is going to be like our strobe lights before takeoff. So just give that a tick. Give that a tick. Starting, relight button, press and release. This is our relight button right here. We're going to give that a tap. And now here we're going to be watching for our GTS indicator to confirm green. So we can tick that. All right, GTS confirms green. Engine start switch goes forward to the start position. Tap it and release it. Watching for 15 to 20% on the RPMs. Rotation indicator also confirming green. 15 to 20% acquired. Throttle to the idle position. Let's go ahead and close the canopy. And we can lock it here. Be watching for both the rotation and GTS indicators to turn black. Looking for RPMs above 50%. No fire lights illuminated. Caution warning panel. Oil, FPR, and trans lights should go out. There they go. Alright, so we have black indicators. Fire caption light out. RPM 50% or greater. CWP looking good. Flight controls free and correct. We'll simulate we've tested them. Hydraulics 2 reset. That's this black button right here. Push it down. Give that a tap. And we should see hydraulics 2 light deluminate here in a minute. And there we go. All off except for skid. So start checklist complete. Trims. We have our elevator trim here showing 0. Ailerons and rudder trim all showing centered. Good to go. There's our air brake test. Make sure our start switch is still in the test position, or our test switch is still in the test position. You can see the air brake did deploy. Let's retract it. Stepping back into the canopy here on the cockpit. Pull that test switch back to the default position. Pitot heat switch goes to the on position. Hydraulic switches or hydraulic gauges are reading pressure. Warning flags are all clear. Attitude indicators are erect. Pressing B on our keyboard to set our barometric pressure for altitude. Compass sync, DGI set as required, navigation instruments set as required, ISIS set as required. And we are now ready for taxi. Let's get this beautiful lady out of here. Alright, so our before taxi checks, we're going to flip that taxi light on, release that parking brake, add some power. It can take quite a bit to get her moving sometimes, so don't let that surprise you. And just taxi out nice and gently until you reach our runway. We've got quite a taxi to go. Taking off for the crosswind? Crosswind today. But we will be coming out from the left here. So I'll catch you guys as we get closer to the runway. Alright, we have a ton of runway here, so I'm not going to take the whole thing. So we're going to come to the runway here. As we approach the runway, anti-skid comes on. Anti-collision lights go up to the white position for strobe. Flaps to the mid position. All right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go full power, holding the brakes, looking for 104%. There's 100%. All right, not to exceed 104. We're just about there. I'm going to come back just a hair here, maintain 100%. And release the brakes. Let's go ahead and turn our smoke on. There's 100 knots. 120, rotating. Positive rate, gear up. Flaps up. 50. Looking for 300. Over the top. Nice, easy takeoff. Alright, so there was our little bit of fun. It's good times. I'll have to learn some more tricks. Let's turn the smoke off. Alright, let's have a good time one more time here, and let's land this aircraft. I turn the nav lights off when I do that, because they're just so ridiculous still at distance. Like, I don't know. I don't want to be complaining. It has nothing to do with the aircraft. That's something that Sobo's got to work out. But the nav light brightness at range is a little insane. They're too big. Like, and I have no idea what it would take to actually model that correctly. So I'm not trying to judge. That's why I turned them off. Alright, so let's see about landing this little lady. First thing we need to do is get below 200 knots, which we are. Let's go flaps. Oh, we were at flaps half? Yep, okay. Oh, that's right, I hit it when I got in the cockpit. Alright, so there's our speed reducing to 150 knots. Landing lights are still on. Trying to maintain about 1,500 feet. Trimming that nose down. She's touchy, man. She's touchy. Nope, I'm climbing. Come on, settle down, settle in, settle in. That nose up. I want a little bit of altitude loss, but not much. Nope. Watching that airspeed. Alright, there's 200 knots now, pulling the power off, gears coming down. This gear should be coming down, I'm not seeing indications yet, come on. Make sure our gear is actually down, shall we? It is not. Why is my gear not coming down? What's going on here? Flaps controls are working, but my gear control is not. That makes me concerned that somehow we got pushed back here. There it goes. Alright. Had to readjust there. Alright, gear's coming down. We're going to accelerate here. We're at some power. This is my first attempt at landing this aircraft. So we're going to be looking for 150 knots. .30 knots as we cross over here. Had to bleed a lot of altitude very quickly. Pretty good rollout. Little wide, but not bad. Powering up. Why'd you power up? Come on now. Oh, and I set full flaps. Forgot to tell you guys, sorry. Little bounce. We're bouncing. I'm gonna hold that nose up, try out for some aerodynamic braking here. Looking good. Down comes the nose. Alright. Let's clean up the flaps. That was really not too bad. Landing it isn't too terrible. Now, I know that wasn't a particularly quote-unquote good landing, but I learned a lot from it. With full flaps, as you guys saw, she started to pick right back up again, so you really got to watch your flap setting. Make sure that you're on point with your speeds. I was not. I was focused on the approach and not paying attention to what the flap speeds were looking like. And then when I dropped full flaps, well, that increased the lift, and you know, she tried to pick up again. So we had to correct for that pretty quickly. At the last minute, I knew I was coming down like a piano, so I added some power back in. It sort of softened it up a little bit, but I think that's what caused us to bounce primarily was the change in thrust there. But all in all, I mean, I liked it. It was a decent start. So, but this time I didn't slam into anything. We got the aircraft down relatively, you know, well, in good condition at least. Whoa, easy girl, easy, easy, easy. Slow her down, slow, 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 slow. Come on, easy. There you go. No need to be aggressive. We got this. Alright, as soon as we've cleared the runway, let's go ahead and hold short here for a minute. Switch our anti-collision lights back to the red. Alright, and we're good to taxi back and shut her down. So anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this flight. It was those videos were actually a real pain in the rear to set up and get as well as I could. I'm going to keep working with that. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I definitely intend to still put together some sort of demo team if you guys are interested. I know many of you are. Stay tuned for my live flights, the live streams. That's where we'll be talking about this the most. Group flights will now be on Saturday night starting at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you guys join us for that. That should be a lot of fun. We're definitely going to be adding this aircraft. Still trying to put together a air race for us, and I'm also still trying to put together the details for a fundraiser. I'm just trying to figure out how to do all that and make sure I stay within my legal bounds and restrictions that I need to follow. So first time ever setting anything like that up, so it's taking a minute, obviously in between real life and recordings, things like that. So anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope Wednesday's treating you well, and we're almost there, guys, so I will see you in the next one. Stay tuned.